microphone doesn't. This microphone doesn't. So instead of this, okay,
Buddho Kanakabhadatu Sankirtanaye Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambharo Dvijabharo Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunabhataro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahito Gurudaya Pushpavanto Chitro Sandotamuno Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Abhaya Charano Soho Sukado Paramanando Sundaro Subhapriyo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namoste Tapta Kancha Urangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Shabanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Shri Gauriya Vaishnava Guru Parampara Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Dauji Gopal Ki Jai Gaud Premanande Hari Hari Bol. We're going to continue our discussion based on the introduction to Sakya Pranay, which is a work in progress. And today I'm going to read a little bit and comment. And we're going to, in the context of that, we're going to explore a little about the nature of Sakyarasa. It's how it has a role in, aside from what we've already talked about, its role in distribution of, for example, the Madhurya Ras, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. We talked about that at some length. One side of it, how Nityananda Prabhu, Balaram in Gaur Lila is very instrumental in disseminating the gift of Mahaprabhu, pointing everyone to Mahaprabhu, and so on and so forth. But because Sakyarasa and Madhurya Rasa are compatible with one another, then the implication of this is that not only does Sakyarasa have a significant role with regard to Madhurya Rasa in this world in the context of the dissemination of this, but also in Krishna Lila. Comparatively, there are four basic rasas that make up Goloka that correspond with Gopala Krishna Dasya, Vatsalya, Sakya, Surya. And of the four, only one of them, and that is Sakyarasa, is compatible, or is, in Rupa Goswami's terms, is a friend of Madhurya Rasa. Rasa is an enemy, and Dasya Rasa is neutral, neither favorable nor unfavorable. Now, of course, when we say, as Rupa Shupa has in strong terms, Vatsalya is an enemy, it doesn't mean it's bad. Good, it's absolutely perfect. Yashodamai ki jai, Nanda Baba ki jai. That in relation to the sentiment, romantic sentiment of the young Gopikas and Krishna in their adolescence, which is of the Parakiya, in other words, which is not part of what's supposed to be going on between young girls and young boys at that age in the social structure of the Leela. They're not married, Parakiya. Particular, Paraki in particular, but Madhurya Ras overall, in the presence of Vatsalya Rasa, it will contract. So how you will act with your spouse or with your lover around your parents is one thing. And when you're alone, then it's another thing. And so Vatsalya Rasa is an enemy in this way. It doesn't nourish the Madhurya Rasa. It causes it to contract. But now, in the larger the Braj Leela, that force, if you will, of Vatsalya is part of what's making the Parakiya is, right? The opposition to it. So it's favorable, obviously, in a larger picture. Do you follow? Yes? Mm-hmm. Without opposition, then what's the meaning of Parakiya, right? Makes it Parakiya special is the opposition. It's a forbidden fruit tastes better, right? So I'm going to read a little bit, and we're going to look at the tattva, the rasa tattva of Sakya Rasa in relation to other rasas, and how it has a role, significant role, not only in the dissemination of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ideal of Madhurya Rasa, but also in the context of Madhurya Rasa in the Braj Leela, in the interaction between Krishna and the gopis, and so forth, as Vatsalya Rasa doesn't actively, you can say, inactively or indirectly by its opposition, it does, but in the case of Sakya Rasa, it's directly involved. And so, I'll read a paragraph. While the central ideal of the Chaitanya Sampradaya some people like to refer to our Sampradaya as the Chaitanya Sampradaya. I think it's more readily referred to as the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Those who like to refer to it as the Chaitanya Sampradaya want to speak of the Sampradaya in a way that transcends any worldly geographical limitations. So Gaudiya, Gaudadesh, West Bengal. So they don't like to say it's West Bengal Vaishnavism. Mm. It's Chaitanya Vaishnava. So there's a point there that they. There's also a little tension sometimes between Chaitanya Vaishnavas or Gaudiya Vaishnavas who are from Bengal and those who aren't. Mm. This is a long-standing tension that developed early on in the Chaitanya Sampradaya or in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Of course, Sridhar Maharaj was from Bengal, and he liked to um, render or translate Gaudiya differently rather than in reference to Gaudadesh, um, drawing from his language and so forth. Um, he rendered Gaudiya sweet, like Gouda. Mm. Sweet Vaishnavism. And that is very accurate, right? Very charming. So this is apply. There I've changed sometimes Gaudiya Vaishnava, sometimes Chaitanya Vaishnava. Try to accommodate both sides. So, while the central ideal of Chaitanya Sampradaya is a particular type of Madhurya Rasa, what is that particular type of Madhurya Rasa? Is number one, the Parakiya Bhav, because there's Swakiya Madhurya Rasa too. We find that in the gopis, in the queens of Dwarka, for example. But further, Rupa Goswami underscores two basic divisions within the Braj of Madhurya Rasa. One is Bhog and the other Bhav. There are different ways also by which two are differentiated from one another, but Sambandha means, Sambhog I should say, Sambhog and Tadbhav. Sambhog means union. So there are the kantas, or Uteshwaris, like Chandravali and Radharani, for example. And they are in Kantabhav, a division of Madhurya Rasa, which is called in pleasing Krishna through union, having a direct romantic relationship with him. And in the second division, Tadbhav is those who attach themselves to the gopis who are involved in satisfying Krishna directly with a romantic relationship. So they attach themselves to the bhav of those devotees and assist them. And Rupa Goswami says that the latter is preferable. So here by a particular type of Madhurya Rasa. This is the emphasis within Vaishnavism, wherein we reason how to best please Krishna and come up with the idea that by pleasing Radha, Krishna will be most pleased because Radha is most dear to him. What did Prabhupada pray on the Jaladuta in his famous song? What is that? Krishna Taba Punya Habe Bhai, Radharani Kushi Habe. Krishna Punya, Krishna Taba Punya Habe Bhai. Krishna Taba Punya Habe Bhai. That, my dear friend, Bhai, Krishna, my dear friend, you will become punya. Your life will become punya, virtuous, pious, successful, if Radharani is pleased with you. You can imagine how that could get Krishna's attention. What? You know that? What are you? And then, of course, goes further and makes a request. Because my guru is a representative of Radharani in her camp, and he has asked me to do this task of bringing Gore's teachings to the Western world ask you to give me the power to do that, and Radharani will be pleased with you, and your life will become successful. And I think that Krishna liked the prayer, and here we are today, right? Not only did he give him the power, but he said, Balaram, you go there. Ram, Rama, Mahabhavu, you have big arms. You're very powerful. Mother Yasoda is always saying, you're the elder brother. You should protect me. You're strong. You are the very, you began, as we heard this morning, the whole Gaudiya Sampradaya. You started it all before there were any books that compel people theologically and so forth, just by the force of own love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Other people followed in the wake of your enthusiasm and love for him. So, Nityanandaram, Nityanandavesh. In the context of this prayer, this poem of Prabhupada's, that happened. Aboard the boat, Laluta crossing the ocean, praying like this, Nityananda Prabhu gave him the power to do extraordinary work that we are all fruits of, only some of the fruits of, right? So, so what was it? So, how did we get there?
We started reading the Chaitanya.
Yeah, a particular type of Madhurya Rasa. The second type is called, sometimes referred to as Manjari Bhava. And it is a type of Madhurya Rasa in Braj where one wants to attach themselves to a group leader, and of course this means Radha in terms of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and the wisdom is, the math is, the bhava is, I only want to serve Radha. The math is, I only want to please Krishna. We did the math. Krishna will be most pleased if Radharani is pleased. Okay, well, let me try to please Radharani. So we shouldn't think that trying to please Radharani is not about pleasing Krishna. No. It's all about pleasing Krishna. She is the very fullest face of love for Krishna. So, right, so by pleasing Radharani, so that's what Prabhupada wrote in his poem. I remember once I was in Vrindavan and was speaking with one of the Goswamis from the Radharaman family. They have about 50 families, all adopted the surname Goswami, and they rotate around serving Radharaman. It's very charming what they've done there. And so he was telling me that when he was a boy, that Prabhupada had come to Vrindavan, and he was trying to figure out what he was all about, as he had come with some disciples, and it's a new thing, bringing Western people there, and they were, Prabhupada had his own style, and he was a sannyasi from Gaudiya Math, wearing a saffron cloth. A lot of devotees in Gaudiya Vaishnavism don't wear the saffron cloth. The renunciates wore white cloth, and Babaji's and so forth, and they were these Westerners, and so he's trying to understand exactly what it was all about. It was a form of Gaudiya Vaishnavism he hadn't seen before. Was it Gaudiya Vaishnavism? And so he said he had a chance to speak with Prabhupada, and he asked Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, how can we please Krishna? He said, and Prabhupada ji, Swamiji, he said, by pleasing Radharani. And then Chaitanya Goswami said, then I knew, oh, he's Gaudiya. That was a very good answer. He gave a very good answer. So this type of Madhurya Rasa, rather than be a competitor of Radharani in Kantabhav, that possibility is there, Rupa Goswami is explaining. Some pradayas that may help to facilitate that, but it's not the focus of Madhurya Rasa within our sampradaya. sampradaya, the Madhurya rasa is this Tadbhav type. There are different versions of it, 4 or 5. When you get to the Manjari Bhav, there's this extreme commitment to Radha, such that those type of devotees have a little more love for Radha than for Krishna. Equal love for Radha and Krishna. Some have a little more love for Krishna than Radha. A little more love for Radha than Krishna. And so their love for Krishna, which is romantic, it's subjugated by their service to Radharani. And Krishna serves to augment their love for Radharani, which is kind of a reversal. Because in all the other rasas, if there's a friend that one has love along with Krishna, and loves the friend equally, or loves the Krishna a little bit more, then that love for the friend will augment the love for Krishna. Manjari Bhav augments the love for the friend. So very peculiar, very special. And the prominence of the dasya component, a kinkari, maidservant of Radha, it causes the romantic affinity, which is there in the Manjari for Krishna. I mean, he's the most charming person for any young girl in Braj. No one can compare. It causes that to be subdued, subjugated. Type. And from the above, it is clear that Sakiras has also played a role in its dissemination, as we've mentioned and discussed, right? And among the Mukhya rasas, the primary rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, and Braj, among the Mukhya rasas enunciated by Rupa Goswami, only Sakya is compatible with Madhurya, and very much so. Thus, in the Chaitanya Sampradaya, both in the field of dissemination of Madhurya rasa, and after having attained it, Sakya rasa has a role to play. Now, I make this point here for any number of good reasons, but one of the reasons, and one of the reasons that I have been giving emphasis to this particular tattva is that I experienced that it was very much misunderstood in the name of pursuing the type of Madhurya rasa that's prominent within Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the type we see in Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the Acharyas, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. That is this Tadbhav type of Madhurya rasa, or Manjari Bhav, as it's sometimes called. It's called Manjari Bhav because the Manjari is the blossom, and if the plant is watered, the blossom will be nourished. If Radharani is pleased, the blossom will come, something like that. So because I witnessed a dismissal even, I'll give you another example. Sridhar Maharaj had, to our surprise, memorized at least a good part, if not all, of the poem that I referred to earlier that Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladuta. And based on that, he began his spiritual conjecture, Shastra Yukti, his reasoning based on scripture, and so forth, to put together different facts in Prabhupada's life that arrived at a very well reasoned, well spiritually reasoned conclusion about Prabhupada's internal life. That that Prabhupada had affinity for Sakya Rasa. Rasa is not the only disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta. The famous Krishnadas Babaji had such an affinity also and wrote to Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj about it. And he at times brought up a letter from Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj that was penned to Sridhar Maharaj, in which Babaji Maharaj explained that and told how Krishna had come with his friends and invited him to enter the forest and so forth. I've cited this in the chapter that we're reading in the morning from Circle of Friends. Hopefully we'll get to that. A very nice analysis. And he was very close. Sridhar was very close with Kanchan Krishna as Babaji Maharaj, and so was Prabhupada. Of course, they were close with one another. So he had come to this conclusion, our Prabhupada, or Sridhar Maharaj, and he brought it up, and he gave his arguments and so forth, which were very powerful. And in the context of doing that, there was a time, a period where Prabhupada had said we could go to Sridhar Maharaj for Shiksha in his absence. And so some devotees were going. Most of the devotees thought, well, the GBC leaders, they can go talk with Sridhar Maharaj and get advice, and they'll pass it down, and so on and so forth. And we couldn't go over in mass to Chaitanya Saraswati Math, thousands of devotees from Mayapur. But there was some tension that developed between the young Turks of ISKCON, the young leaders who were trying to fit into Prabhupada's shoes and were having a little difficulty capturing the faith and the support of everyone. Very politely said that for the sake of management, we find this to be a potential nightmare. Prabhupada wanted us to be the managers, speaking of the GBC, the governing body commissioners and managers of ISKCON. And Prabhupada gave certain directives, how he wanted things and so forth. If now we bring Sridhar Maharaj in as a figure who's above the GBC, and he's not familiar with all the ways Prabhupada wanted things done and so forth, and start saying things, it can cause some, relative things, can cause some confusion. And therefore, we think that from a managerial point of view, it's better that devotees who want to take Siksha from Sridhar Maharaj, they should serve separately from ISKCON, and then we'll compare notes down the road. How's that going for you? And how's that going for us? How's that going for you with Sridhar Maharaj's Shiksha? How's that going for us without it? But they weren't that polite. And so there were some years where the tension was considerable. Still there to some extent, but I don't think to the same extent, because some of us, like ourselves, who have taken Siksha from Sridhar Maharaj, well, we're obviously successful and happy and attractive. But when Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj said that Prabhupada was in Sakyarasa, in his opinion, some persons on the other side of the river considered that he was criticizing Prabhupada, and their own interpretation was, he's saying that Prabhupada's in Sakyarasa, and that he's in Madhurya Rasa, so everybody should have to come to him. From what Sridhar Maharaj was saying. And when this came back to Sridhar Maharaj, he said, they're criticizing Sakyarasa? What do they think it is? He said, I thought it was rather a compliment that I had paid, to be in any rasa. That is the perfection. So he was like dumbfounded by that kind of reaction. And this is just the beginning of that. Later, as some other Gaudiya Vaishnavas try to help Prabhupada's disciples focus more on the prayojan tattva, the ideal, what Gaudiya Vaishnavism is all about, where it goes, where it ends up, as Madhurya Rasa, which is the mainstream of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Mahaprabhu came to taste the bhav of Radha, and through Manjari Bhav one can taste that oneself, and so forth. For that reason, and for the fact that Sakyarasa has kind of stood in the shadows for, well, the same centuries. Because when I think I mentioned this the other day, the Sampradaya became a little spiritually weak or less vital over time, which happens, then even in some of the original Sakyarasa lineages, they started advertising, we have Madhurya Rasa over here too. You come get it from us and get some disciples and get a pension. Make sure you're going to have hot chapatis in your old age, something like that. This is the kind of the condition, to some extent, to a large extent, that Gaudiya Vaishnava was in the vision of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he wanted to remedy that and re-energize that and exemplify essential, if you will, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, substance, even over form, and so on. So it was more of the same, I guess you could say, that caused me to go in this direction. I'd been thinking about it for some time to write a book like Circle of Friends, but I wasn't sure. But I was walking with Gaur Sundar, just as you take the turn past the barn, around the creek there, where the big tree is, just as you start to go up, I was talking to Gaur about it. He said, Rumor should be really good if you wrote that. That's when I decided, I will write it. Okay, thank you. My thanks to Gaur Sundar. I'll write it. Happened right there. It's a special place. And so I've been writing for a long time, so I've been talking about it, and I don't think ordinarily I would be so preoccupied by all of the others, really, not in Gaudiya Sampradaya, and particularly in a more overt sense, without Sakyarasa. Because Sakyarasa is the excuse. Cow herding and playing with his friends is the excuse that Krishna has to get out of the house in the first place. Right? They're providing the excuse, in the least. And after all, they're all young boys and young girls, and Krishna's friends have sisters, and the sister of Krishna. So Sridham is the younger sister or older brother of Radharani, and she's with Krishna. And boys, as we know, they see the plight, romantic of Radha and Krishna, and they want to assist and be a supporting role in the relationship. So it is with the above and further reason yet to be discussed that, now this is interesting, Jiva Goswami places Sakyarasa second only to Madhurya Rasa in terms of excellence in Bhakti Rasa. Now, of course, we have to be clear that excellence in Bhakti Rasa means somehow excellence within excellence. Let me give an example of that. Rupa Goswami has said in Ujjwal Nilmani that Krishna is perfect in Dwarka, Dwarkesh Krishna. In Mathura, are perfect, and in Vrindavan, he's most perfect. not to think of these rasas in a mundane sense. They're all forms of perfection. We're all the Binamsa out of Hasta Shakti of Mahasankarshan. Mahasankarshan is the Rash of Tasta Shakti. And Narayan and Vaikuntha, Mahasankarshan is what Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, and Vasudev. These are the Chaturvyuha. This is the second Chaturvyuha in Aishvarya, right, of Vaikuntha. That Narayan is living in Vaikuntha with muktas. What could be more perfect? There's only one thing that sometimes rises in the heart of Narayan that is not possible for him to realize or experience in Vaikuntha. What is that? The desire to bestow mukti on someone. Passionate act, right? That is. There's a mukta. So there's no one to, there's that kind of love is also part of the emotional composition of Bhagwan. He can be compassionate to his devotees, and he is. This is the statement of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He wants to bestow mukti. So this Mahasankarshan, that's Baladev, Vaikuntha, and he's very attentive to the desires of, as Baladev is, of Krishna's, of Narayan's. Mahasankarshan manifests as Mahavishnu, which is the original avatar. Krishna's the avatari. Who's the first avatar? Narayan and Vaikuntha? No, he's a Prakash. He's an expansion of Krishna in the spiritual world. Avatar means crossing down from up to down. Avatar is Mahavishnu, this form, Bhagavan. And he has a jurisdiction over the Maya Shakti. So from him, that one becomes many. Now there's a Leela, we call it Shriti Leela, the Leela of creation. And in that Leela, it can be bestowed. Just have to get the right angle of vision to appreciate it. And excuse me. How do we get there? From what I read. And well, Jiva, oh, so right. So all these rasas are perfect. Still, there's a gradation of them. In one sense, the gradation of them is from the vantage point of sadhana. And Sanatana Goswami makes this point in Brihad Bhagavata. For sadhana of a particular devotee, he or she will want to feel that theirs is the best. You experience it like that. I was saying from Mahavishnu, so many jivas come. They're all parts and parcels of God. And God is made up of, ultimately, rasa. He's Rasaraj, right? The king of rasas. So the potential to, the capacity, taste a particular rasa is in every jiva. What it will be. It's however Bhagwan wants to experience for that purpose. We have a purpose. We have a dharma, jaiva, a dharma as a servant of Bhagwan. We see it. Also, we say, well, it comes from the guru. Where's the guru come from? Why a particular guru has come to us? Right? And of course, that's in terms of the more the norm. That based on the bhav of the guru, the disciple will have a similar. There may be other instances, and what the reason is that from a previous life and so forth. That may be difficult to sort out, but we accept it. Prabhupada was a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta. He was in Madhurya Ras, and Prabhupada was in Sakya Ras. We could reason about that particular case and why and so on and so forth. But those exceptions are there, and they're beautiful and glorious, right? Once there was propaganda, again, this time from the other side, from Sridhar Maharaj's side. Um, Maharaj, and he didn't like that. I didn't like it either. I didn't, but I was trying to seek confirmation from him. I told him this in the context of reading Prabhupada's poem to him. And when he got to the part where Prabhupada Katavani Chuta Chutibani Kai Shutaputi, Prabhupada's talking about rolling and frolicking in the forest, and this is his ambition. And he said, oh, he chuckled on Sakyarasa. And I said, in Maharaj, some of the Bodhis are saying, and he said, Baba, don't think like that. He said, if you think that you've got Sakyarasa, if your guru's in Sakyarasa, and that's a problem, then you've got a problem. Then same thing, then you don't understand what it means to be in any rasa. Or to speak of Sakyarasa, such a high Kritapunya Punja. But Sukadev himself is a gopi, he passes out. When he's relating the beginning of the Sakyaras section of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, he says, Itam stam brahma sukhanubhuti. There are those who want to merge with Brahman, sages, and Paraivatena, those who are worship God, worship Him. Some worship Him, view to enter into Brahman, the sages, Brahmaganis. Some worship Him beautifully as God, and He is. Some people see Him as an ordinary being, but these cowherds, he said, Kritapunya Punja, I cannot fathom what they have done to attain this position, to play on equal level with the sages revere, and the Vaikuntha Bhaktas revere, worship with pomp and opulence and so on and so forth, and they're just pushing him over. Or if he puts on something attractive, and take it and put it on themselves. What kind of people are they? What is the sadhana to attain such a position? Sukadeva's his mind is blown by this. And at the end of that he passes out. Actually, he falls into a trance. So if you think your guru is in Sakya is a problem, you've got a problem. You don't know what you're involved in. They said he will make any arrangement. There's not a problem. He can make the arrangement. Anyway, so this process is beautiful. At the same time, an argument is made in the realm of sadhana. One is better than another. I can tell you that if you're really steeped in any particular rasa, you have a good argument for either one. Right? Gaudiya Vaishnavas is for the excellence of Madhurya Rasa. And there's a lot of objectivity to this at the same time. All good. So, Rupa Goswami's ladder, if you will, we have Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And the peculiar thing, or the particular thing that I'm bringing up here, is that it is with the above reasoning that we went through, and more further reasoning yet to be discussed, that Jiva Goswami places Sakya second only to Madhurya in excellence of Bhakti Rasa, rather than what does Rupa Goswami do? What is Rupa Goswami's ladder? Rupa Goswami's ladder is Dasya, Sakya, Vatsal, Madhurya. Rupa Goswami's, Jiva Goswami's is Das, Vatsalya, Sakya, Madhurya. He disagrees with Guru, Rupa Goswami, and should be rejected. No. There's room for some differences, and are they really differences? So that we have to explore here. And while at first Jiva's opinion may appear to differ from that of his Guru Sri Rupa, if we look more closely at Rupa Goswami's teaching, we find that this is not necessarily the case. We necessarily disagree, even though he's written in Bhakti Rasa given this particular order. Why he's given that order, what is the reasoning on the basis of which Jiva Goswami order in his Priti Sabha. An interesting topic. In his Bhakti Rasamrita, Rupa Goswami divides Bhakti Rasa of Braj into two basic categories: Sambandha Rupa Bhakti and Kama Rupa Bhakti. It means relationship. So the form of Sambandha Rupa, form of Sambandha Bhakti, and Kama Rupa, the form of based on Kama. Bhakti based on relationship, Bhakti based on Kama. Kama, a relationship based on Kama, is not a relationship in the Braj. It's outside of the relationships. Marriages are arranged based on calculations of the stars, from a sense of whether or not they'll be compatible, and then they get together, and over time they have another, because that's what the stars say, right? Relationship of the love of a servant for the master, student for the teacher, Asya. That's an acceptable relationship. The love of the friend for a friend, that's acceptable. The love of a parent for the child, and vice versa, that's acceptable. This is all Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya. This is all falls within the category of Rupa Goswami's division of Sambandha Rupa Bhakti. And the way to pursue any of those, in Rupa Goswami's terms, is Anuga Bhakti. Mananuga, a follower of that type of bhakti, means of those types of devotees. Obviously, would be one of them. Dasyas, Sakyas, friends, or the elders, right? That's Sambandha Rupa. And Kama Rupa, that's the gopis. They're in this category. So Rupa Goswami gave these two basic divisions. And he says that the essence of Sambandha Rupa's Dasya Bhakti is service. And that is also found in Sakya. We're making a differentiation here between Shanta, without mentioning Shanta first, but to go back a step. In Shanta Rasa, there's no service. in Shantarasa, there's only like a beatific vision. There's not an interest in the Leela, Partiseva. This rasa is not very palatable for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but we accept it. It does exist, Shantarasa. So the difference between Dasya and Shanta is what? That in Dasya there's service. Now but there are qualities of Shanta that are also in Dasya. And similarly, the service attitude or the service reality of Dasya is also present in Sakya, while there are other things that make up Sakya as well. And the primary characteristic of Sakya is the kind of like lack of reverence for the object of love. In Dasya, there is service, but he's superior. It's not like the Dasya, however, in Braj, or like the Dasya Bhaktas in Vaikuntha. It's in the house of Nanda Maharaj. It's intimate. The whole of Braj is intimate. It's an intimate form of Dasya Bhakti. Something like the Dasya Bhakti in Navadvip, one of our ideal in Gaur Leela. It tends to be that Dasya Rasa in Braj tinged with a little Sakya. So if a student has a friendly relationship with the teacher, he might get better grades. It's a little added plus, right? Somehow found a way into the teacher's heart, more than just what officially is required. Right? Appreciate that you did the work, but at home, something like that. That question may be posed, right? So while the essence, the aspect, I should say, Sakya, absence of reverence, it's also found in Vatsalya. But there's something more found in Vatsalya. This is Rupa Goswami's reasoning, not found in Dasya. What is that? That's called palana, the nourishment. It's an intimate type of love, this nourishment. It's not found in Dasya or in Sakya. So there's something more, another element in Vatsalya that causes him to place on his ladder above Sakya and just below Madhurya. Right? But at the end of his chapter, Rupa Goswami says that some devotees, he's speaking about Sambandha Rupa Bhakti, the Dasya, Vatsalya, and the Sakya, that some devotees reason that among these, Sakya Rasa is the best. Why? Because of the equality after all. So within Sambandha Rupa, only the Sakya Rasa has this central focus of equality. And Rupa Goswami says that some devotees, on the basis of this, place Sakya above Vatsalya. And that's all right. There's something to that opinion. They could make a good case for that. Now, Jiva Goswami doesn't make a real effort to make the case in Priti Sandarbha, but he just places it above, and he goes through them in an order in which Sakya comes after Vatsalya And that is the implication of that. And of course, as I mentioned before, amongst all those Manjari bhaktas of the acharyas, 6 Goswamis, Kaviraj Goswami, coming in the next generation, Narottam Thakur, and so on and so forth, amongst all these Manjaris, Jiva Goswami, in Jiva Goswami, more than any of them, we find, oh, he has some affinity for Sakya-rasa also. He expresses it at different times. And in his youth, it's mentioned in Bhakti Ratnakar, he worshipped deities of Krishna and Balaram. Habits formed in youth to give up, right? His favorite name for Krishna is Gopal. Rupa's favorite name is Madhava. Therefore, in honor of Goswami, one of the famous books of Jiva Goswami is Madhav Mahotsava. He named Madhav Mahotsava. His own book is Gopal Champu. That is his like masterpiece, right? Lila book. His favorite name, Madhav Mahotsava. So there's something of Jiva Goswami. He doesn't come out real strongly about it, but I've found it here and there, and I put a magnifying glass on those points in Circle of Friends. One of which is most extraordinary, is that he says, and the Kantabhav, which we spoke about earlier, that type of gopi who fulfills Krishna's desire directly to have union, like Radha, the primary example of Kantabhav. He says that Kantabhav of Braj, it is Sakya Mishra. It's mixed with Sakya. So I've written a whole chapter about that, the last chapter of the book. Just another example of how Sakya Rasa is indispensable in the Gopi Bhav, so central to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Even as it stands in the background, plays a supportive role. What's the supporting actor's role? Still, that support is required. Love making is spinning his head, and his heart is pounding. He needs shoulders to lean on, and that's what some of his Gopa friends provide. In that context, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Rajariti Chintamani says, and some of these gopas, they're as good as the gopis. It means they're that important to Krishna's, the central focus of Krishna's life, his romantic life. It just takes over, as it does in anybody's life, right? And it's a constant state of infatuation, you can imagine. State of infatuation in romantic life knows no reason, right? Nothing can get in his way. Anything that tries to get in his way just becomes converted into a facilitating it that much more. Apratihata, ahoituki apratihata, layatma samprasidati. Sabai pum samparodama yatho bhakti rog sajay. If you want to take a real Gaudiya translation of that, we're talking about Gopi Bhav, you can say. Right? Nothing can get in its way. Nothing can check it. Nothing can, it's hoituki and apratihata. So thus from Rupa Goswami's perspective, Vatsalya exceeds Sakya in excellence. Based on such reasoning, Rupa not the case in Dasya, nor in Vatsalya, as one can understand from human experience. I mean, we've already talked about it. My experience in the Vatsalya rasa with my parents is different than theirs. I'm feeling nurtured, they're the nurturer, right? It's it's different. Similarly within Dasya. In parental love, the parent's is different from that of the child, and this is also the case in love in servitude between a teacher and student. Because of this equality experience between friends that is central to Sakya Rasa, Rupa acknowledges that it is admissible to deem Sakya the most excellent among the three rasas of Sambandha Rupa Bhakti, of Palana, of nourishing, and the particular intimacy that Palana affords. In this type of analysis, equality of emotional between friends affords greater intimacy than the nurture in Salya. The absence of equality within parental love is such that, despite the absence of reverence on the part of the parent, respect is found in the children for the parent. Thus, half of Vatsalya contains an element of reverence. As such, there are topics that discuss only with your friends can you never tell you couldn't share it with your parents, only to the extent in human life that your parents become the friends, right? That happens, right? Especially as you get older. Hopefully they stop treating you as a child when you come home to give them advice at times. In the end, parents become the children. That's where I'm at now. So you please take care of me. Right? As such, there are topics one can disclose and discuss only with one's friends, and certainly not with one's parents. Support for place above Vatsalya also derives that it is the equality within Sakya that enables it to be compatible also with Madhurya Rasa. Now we should say a word about Madhurya Rasa with regard to this equality, because we said this equality is not found in Vatsalya, and within Sambandha Rupa it's only found in Sakya. What about Madhurya? Is there equality in Madhurya? There's an equality in Madhurya in kind. Quantity. Very interesting. In other words, Krishna has romantic love for these. They have the same kind of feeling for him, right? But the quality is different, and this is peculiar to the Paraki Bhav of Braj. In Bharata, Bharat Maharaj's system or perspective on aesthetics, he's the original charge of Indian aesthetics course, which Rupa Goswami draws from and then creates his own aesthetic combined with Vedanta to describe the absolute, the avatari, Swayam Bhagavan. Bharat says that in romantic love, there's the lover and the beloved experience equally the taste of romantic love. Krishnadas Kaviraj makes the point, Bharat didn't know the Braj Ras. He didn't know, what does the first verse of Bhagavatam say? Tene Brahma Hridayalike Kabe Bhuyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Varimadam Yatha Vinimayo Yatatago Mersha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. Sages are bewildered about this. Who, in this case, who is Krishna? Gopinath, Gopi Jana Ballava. Oh, what is his love for and this is a very central point to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, what I'm making here. What is that point? That the kind of feeling between Krishna and Radha is equal, but the quantity is different. And because the quantity is different, we're all here. That's why we're here. How important is this point? Do you understand? If they were completely the same, what would be missing in Krishna in terms of experiencing Radha's love? He sees that she has romantic love for me, but in quality, in quantity, it exceeds my love. And I'm the king of rasa. Am I the king of rasa? Or am I not? Hmm? Then he realizes, of course, as I've often said, I am, because it's something in me that makes her the way she is. But I can't access it. That's my problem. It's accessed through her vantage, from her vantage point, through her perspective. And I because I'm a rasika, I'm living for this, and on this is my whole life, tasting rasa. And now I found something in eternity that still I haven't tasted. I have to taste it. So Krishna, this is his plan, right? To become to another Leela manifest as Gaur Leela. And Krishna is coming to taste Radharani's love. So this is very interesting. So there is equality, and there's inequality within Madhurya Rasa. In Sakya Rasa, there's pure equality. So in this way, a case can be made to support, and Rupa Goswami's in a statement in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu is giving that support to Jiva Goswami. He must have picked up on that. Jiva Goswami, I got the blessing of Rupa to make my case like this, and I have a little feeling for it, more than I do for Vatsalya Rasa. Even my childhood deities of Krishna, Balaram, and so forth. So in my Priti Sandarbha, but I give the ascending order in this way. This is just some ways in which we can come to appreciate, hopefully, that not only does Sakya Rasa have a role in the dissemination of Madhurya Rasa, which we've emphasized, but it also has a role, and a prominent role, in Madhurya Rasa as it's played out in Braj. There's more that can be said about this. In terms of the intensification of Sakya Bhav that takes place in the Narma Sakas. There are 4 types of Sakas given to us by Rupa Goswami. Nowhere else will you find this kind of information. And the Priyanarma Saka is a whole creation of Rupa Goswami. In terms of aesthetics. In aesthetics, Indian aesthetics, in drama, the hero, the main actor, right, will have certain male companions who assists him in his romantic life. There's 4 of them. Rupa Goswami, out of the blue, gives a 5th one. It's the Priyanarma Saka, in his aesthetics, his Vedanta of aesthetics, his aesthetic Vedanta he gives. And so very special is the Priyanarma Saka. And his nature is, if it was to be compared, it would be, you might have more scope for, on one side, comparing it to a Manjari and comparing it to a Gopa. If you look at it from another way, he's more compared to a Gopa, the other Gopas. So this is very, my Manjari Bhava is very peculiar. This Priyanarma Saka Bhava is very, very peculiar also. So one of the things about it, or one of its features, is that these bhavas of Braj, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, these are basic Mukhya rasas, Sthayi bhavas. In Braj, in that type of bhakti, those rasas are intensified. Just like I said, the Dasya bhakti of Braj is different than the Dasya bhakti of Vaikuntha. It's intensified. It's this intensification of Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya that can only be experienced and developed in the association of the eternal association. in this sadhaka deha. You need a different type of body for that. You need a coward body. You need a coward as a gopa or a gopi's body. You get one. You take birth in the Prakriti body. And there, in the association of the Nityasiddhas, or Ragatas, who come with Krishna, who are the embodiments of these rasas in their fullest expression, then this is somehow imbibed. Anurag, Mahabhav, for example, Prem, Pranay, Prem, Sneha, Pranay, Man, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, and Mahabhav, this progression. These are all intensifications of the Sthayi Bhav that are part, feature, or part of seeing oneself within these rasas to participate in Krishna's Braj Leela. I've given the example before. In the United States, and probably in other countries too, they have professional sports like professional football, and they have college football. And so the best students from the college, best football players, drafted to play in the professional team. But they have the speed of the team is much faster. And the only way that they can pick it up is by practicing with the team or getting thrown out on the field. And gradually, because now the best from the college is with everybody. They're all the best. They're all bests. He learns, she learns something there. How is it learned? Learned by association. By the way the works. For example, Krishna called the gopis in the dead of night with his flute on the full moon, during the full moon, during happy face, the moon, Chandramukhi. They ran to him, but some couldn't go. They were checked by their husbands, Bhagavata speaking. These are sadhakas who entered the Leela, the birth in the Prakat Leela. And by the arrangement of the Leela, that intensification of separation on that night brought about the intensification of their Sthayi Bhav to develop in terms of all these things, Pranay, Rag, Anurag, Mahabhav, and so forth. Another example, in Vatsalya Rasa, there are sadhakas who enter the Leela, and in Vatsalya Rasa, and that intensification takes place by the arrangement of the Brahma Vimohan Leela, at which time Krishna himself becomes the sons, right, of all the mothers. And their love for their sons suddenly, which is already unlimited, it becomes even more intense. And then their love for Krishna, it's even still more. Oh my goodness. So this is an intensification of their Sthayi Bhav. And then they're ready now for the Aprakat Leela, or to fully participate in the rest of the Prakat Leela and then enter the Aprakat Leela. So this Aprakat Leela is like a sadhaka deha, something like that. The Dham on earth is something like that. There are material ingredients in there, or there are in their spiritual, or there are lacking in spiritual ingredients that yet to be developed, need to develop, and so forth. And this is practically how it happens. So these things, like, we can define, and they have been, and some examples have been given of them: Pranay, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav, divisions of Mahabhav, and so forth, in Ujjval Nilmani. But the acharyas have acknowledged, really, this has to be, you can get some theoretical on, but what it is, this has to be from hands-on association. Now, with regard to that, this is one of the excellences of this type of Sakyarasa, the Priyanarmasaka, that their bhav exceeds the rag. It's from pranay, sneha pranay, rag, prem, pranay, prem. It goes differently for them. Pranay, prem, sneha, rag. Then there's man, anurag, mahabhav. So all of these are aspects of the sthayi bhav of these narmasakas. Now, with regard to man, man is often described as jealous love. That's just one form of this man. So certainly the Priya Narmasakas will have some acquaintance with that by way of associating with Radha's man and trying to calm her down, try to break her man. That's one way in which you can say, oh, they also have some experience of the man. They identify with it enough to understand it and deal with it practically in the context of the Leela and break it so that Radha and Krishna can make union again, which is what Krishna wants. He wants to break the man of Radha, even though he loves it. Right? It comes, as Rupa Goswami says, for good reason or for no reason. What is the verse? Swabhava Kutila Bhavesh. Like a snake, it goes in crooked way. Sometimes for good reason, some for no reason. But jealous love is just one type of man. It may be prominent, but one type. So many other ways with friends aside from Narmasakas, they argue with one another. And this is the opinion of Jiva Goswami in Priti Sandarbha. This isn't brought out in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Jiva Goswami. So it's another instance in which Jiva Goswami is going into a little bit more detail of the possibilities within Sakya Rasa and how it is suitable to be a support and a participant in the romantic affairs of Krishna. Oh, there's more to be said about this, but we've talked for quite some time, so either we'll conclude here and move on with the Leela section of the book tomorrow, or I'll say a little bit more about this and then proceed. But I think it's been a useful discussion. I found it very interesting myself to reiterate it. Shri Daji Gopal ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Puri Vaishnav Guru Parampara ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Brinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Ramchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu cha Patitanam Bhavani Vaishnavi Brahma Namaha, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrindu ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Jai.